Into today's AI news. Again, the goal of this is just to learn every single day, 1% in terms of knowledge, take some tiny action steps, and before you know it, you'll have major traction in terms of your AI experience, whether that's for your own business, whether it's for your career, whatever. But it's just so vital at this kind of epoch or era to not get left behind. That's the purpose behind the channel, is just learning. I'm learning, everyone's learning. We're all trying to stay abreast of this just to ensure that we don't let opportunities slip. So let's dive into it. I guess the main thing that is top of the news at the moment is a big four consulting firm hands AI over to millions of its staff, which is another thing that we saw yesterday in terms of pharmaceutical companies. OpenAI launched a $4 billion consulting company backed by McKinsey, by Bain and Capgemini. The idea being to kind of go head to head with all of them in a way. So fascinating the way that works when companies are investing potentially in their competitor. And beside every single one of those gaps is a little, rather behind every single one of those investments is a little gap when it whittles down to the bottom end for someone who wants to, whether doing it for themselves in their career, implementing AI in their career, bringing it to their employer, bringing it to your boss, bringing it to your line manager, or someone who's running an agency or wants to start an agency to offer these services. So let's jump into the McKinsey news. So McKinsey's own research said agentic AI could unlock $4.4 trillion in annual productivity gains globally. That number is starting to feel real because this month, the biggest firms on earth stopped talking about AI and started deploying it at a scale that changes how everybody thinks of it. So for example, KPMG announced on the 19th of May that 276,000 professionals across 138 countries basically integrated Claude into their core operating system. That's not a pilot, that's a full launch. Then we've got Deloitte with 470,000 employees, PwC with 276, Bristol Myers Squibb, which we mentioned yesterday, which did 30,000 in the last couple of days. So put that all together, you've got 1 million knowledge workers alone who got AI embedded into their daily role this month alone. So you can see which way the puck is heading. Then on the 9th, or rather the 11th of May, OpenAI made a move that nobody saw coming. They didn't ship a new model. They actually launched a consulting company, which is fascinating. The OpenAI deployment company, or DeployCo, as it's become known, came out with $4 billion in funding at a $10 billion valuation straight out of the gate, backed by 19 investors, including Goldman Sachs, TPG, Bain, McKinsey, and Capgemini. These are companies that in theory they're actually potentially competing against. So they acquired a London firm called Tomorrow on day one, and then 150 specialist AI engineers immediately started working there to grow. So we can see the way that things are going here. So the playbook they're running is Palantir's. Don't sell the software and then leave the clients to figure it out. Embed your people inside the businesses, connect the AI to the company's actual data and workflows. This both means that they can provide these services and provide the bigger umbrella, the bigger ecosystem with which it's operational in. So moving forward to the opportunity, this is the pivot basically. Here's the thing about DeployCo, KPMG, Deloitte, all of these kind of companies. They're all going after the same customer, that's Fortune 500 global multinationals, the tip top of the food chain. Nobody, and I mean nobody at scale, is running that same playbook for the 33 million small and mid-sized businesses in the US alone. Got the exact same problems, but clearly can't afford an OpenAI engineer or a big four engagement. So think about what DeployCo model actually does. It finds the most expensive, repetitive workflows, connects it to AI, using the company's own data, builds an agent that handles it and charges for the outcome. That's not a secret formula. It's super open. And that's the repetible or repeatable process that you can do yourself, whether it's for your own business, whether it's for a service externally, or whether it's in the role that you currently have. So it's wide open in terms of what you can do with that. So for example, think of SMBs that this could service. It could be a dental group. It could be a 5-person law firm or investment house. It could be a regional freight company. It could be an independent financial advisor. All of them have staff buried in paperwork, in bureaucracy, in time-wasting tasks that an agentic AI node agent could solve. So all of them have budget, all profitable businesses, but they don't have someone showing up and basically doing this for them. They don't have someone internally within their teams who could ultimately deliver it. So a big opportunity there. All right, let's take our attention over to tools that are worth keeping your eyes open. So it's always so vital to know what tools are happening, because it's literally, like I said before, it's like being in the era of the Renaissance, and other guys are out there with 20 different tools carving the most amazing sculptures, and you're there with a hammer and a tongs, and that's basically it. So let's dive into Claude plus Cursor. So still the best combination for building agents fast if you can code even a little. So Cursor handles the scaffolding and the debugging. Claude handles the reasoning, the writing, and the workflow logic. So if you're building client automations, this could be your engine. So Claude's API pricing makes it viable to run client-facing agents without the margins disappearing. So that's one potential opportunity. Obviously, tons of other options if you don't have coding experience, and it's nothing to worry about if you don't. Seriously, it's absolutely far from something to worry about. Then we go over to Gemini Flash, so Gemini speed model, and the one underneath products like Spark. Excellent for research, for pipelines, for app scaffolding, anything you need fast, high volume processing. Gemini Flash is your way to go. N8N is another open source workflow automation, self-hostable, connects to almost anything. You build the logic once, you wire it, and then CRM, things like CRM, inboxes, Slack, calendars, it all runs without you. There was a lot of hype around N8N in the last couple of, or let's say 6 months ago, but it's kind of tampered down a little bit. I think as more AI tools like Claude, etc., become more, I guess, programmable via human language, you hear less about the likes of N8N. Jump forward then to some softwares that a lot of us will know from kind of the Web 2 era, which is Notion AI and ClickUp AI. So Notion and ClickUp, obviously very familiar to a lot of folks. So underrated for client-facing productivity work. Most SMBs already live in one of these tools potentially, or at least they're familiar with this style of tool. If they haven't used Notion, they've probably used something else that's somewhat similar. If they haven't used ClickUp, or they probably have touched on some sort of other CRM. So often selling this into a business is a lot easier if you can make it feel familiar to them. So that's a vital thing to think about. So let's jump over to what's working today. So think of this think of how you could become a mini version of DeployCo. So using AI agents as a service, whether that's in the role that you're in and pitching that to your employer, whether it's in the agency that you own and putting it into your teams and giving your teams more ammo to get more done on a daily basis, or if you want to go out there and service the dental practice, service the law firm, service a small investment house or the freight company. So pick one industry, identify a workflow that costs them a lot of time, whether it's customer intake, lead follow-up, monthly reporting, whatever it is, and build an agent using Claude or N8N, for example. Charge a monthly retainer and manage and maintain it. Keep the communication high with that office, whether it's or even if it's your own team or whether it's your line manager. You're not selling AI. That's the big thing. People don't want AI consulting. They've done that, or they've at least kind of pondered with the concept of it. People want actionable results with agents. So learning how to build these simple agents is going to be game changing for anyone who wants to either move up the career ladder, move their own company forward, or be able to pitch this as a service. So next up is potentially AI-powered content and faceless YouTube channels. So this is a big opportunity between Gemini, Omni. There's a huge opportunity now to be able to pump out these faceless channels. More and more people are consuming content all the time, as we know. There's a relentless appetite for knowledge out there, and the ability now to generate AI-generated educational content in a fraction of the time that was needed before, essentially for little to no cost, is just phenomenal. Then there's even the AI news and trend automation stuff that you could even do with that. In terms of like the way I'm sharing news here, totally plausible with these tools without even needing to put your face on it. So let's have a look at, let's say, for example, a vertical AI tool for one niche. So let's say we were looking at dentistry or real estate or regional logistics. All of them have AI solutions, again, built for Fortune 500 companies, but not for the smaller ones. So what you can do is you can build or white label someone who has an agent in those areas. So if you find someone online who, for example, is selling AI agentic services to dentists, reach out to them, just white label. You don't even need to go build it. You just need to be the reseller in your local area. It's the handshake, it's the bricks and mortar approach that will often get a sale over the line for these things. So absolutely fascinating. So what does it mean, let's say, for your job? So people who are looking to protect themselves, the big thing is to just make sure that you're actually taking advantage of what's out there and ensuring that ultimately you're learning about what's going on. It's so vital. It's not plausible anymore to ultimately leave it and just hope that AI kind of figures itself out in your ecosystem. There's no doubt about it. It's going to touch on all of our roles, whether we're self-employed, whether we're running companies, whether we're pitching to services to others. It's not plausible now to ignore it. So think of the different opportunities. One, you could white label someone else. You don't even have to go and build an agent. Second is you can obviously learn how to do it, which is even stronger. And thirdly is you can at least spend a couple of minutes every day trying to learn a little bit. So like we say, try to pick one tool from the day. For example, Claude plus Cursor or Gemini Flash, for example, a super simple one. and then just try to challenge yourself to do one simple thing. And then if you're thinking about from a business standpoint, try to just think about, not even necessarily for the purpose of actioning it, but think about one business that you could target with a service from this. If you start to connect the dots between, okay, I get the tool, I understand what tools are out there. Okay, I get what I could do with the tool, and then I get how I can monetize with that tool. That's the three things that you have to just get your brain running through that cycle continuously. Because as you can see, as time goes by, as bigger tools come out, as more opportunities arise, if you're constantly rinsing that system and your brain is already neurally hardwired to just run through those couple of questions, you're thinking of business ideas all the time. Pretty quickly, you'll stumble across where it is that you want to actually dedicate your time for this or with this, whether it's getting up the career ladder in your current role, like I said, or whether it's pitching this as a service, or it's just driving your own business, your own service business forward, whatever you're doing. So ultimately, that's the AI and productivity brief for today. There's loads of stuff happening in the enterprise market, as we know, but it's thinking about how you can bring that down to your own scenario. So like we said, crazy knowledge worker kind of implementation from a lot of the big players. So don't ignore it. It's so vital to take one little percentage of action every single day, just to not get left behind, rather, and just make sure that you're accumulating that knowledge and then thinking about ultimately how you can implement it into your own lifestyle.